What if I told you the habit you have struggled with for years could end today? Imagine walking down a familiar path, one you have taken 100 times before. You don't have to think about where to step, it just happens. But then one day, something shifts. A crack in the pavement, a new signpost, a sudden realization, and in that moment, you have a choice. Keep walking the same path or take a new one. That's exactly how change works in hypnosis. The dysfunction, the pattern, the habit, it's played out over and over again in your unconscious mind. But the moment you reprogram it, everything shifts. Suddenly, the awareness kicks in before you repeat the old cycle. And now you stand at the decision point. You can choose differently. Hi, my name is Matusz Hanidzia, and the topic of this video is the last time you will struggle with this. As a hypnotherapist and coach for the last 7 years, I've seen firsthand how the mind resists change until it doesn't, until awareness steps in and gives you back the power of choice. Take my client Michelle, for example. She struggled with self doubt for years. No matter what she achieved, and there was a lot, there was always a voice in the back of her mind telling her she wasn't enough. She had done therapy, affirmations, mindset work. Nothing seemed to stick. But then something changed. She moved back to her home country after years abroad, and suddenly the familiar patterns didn't make sense anymore. She felt different. The old doubts still tried to creep in, but now she saw them for what they are, just echoes of the past, not her present reality. Now, why did this happen? Because real transformation happens in 3 steps. Step number 1, the shift of environment. Your unconscious mind is like a well worn trail in the woods. It follows the same path over and over and over, not because it's the best route, but because it's familiar. The brain is wired for efficiency. It takes the easiest, most predictable route unless something forces it to stop and reevaluate. But what happens when the trail is blocked? When a tree falls across the path or the terrain changes, suddenly you can't keep walking the same path. You're forced to look around, explore new options, and find a different way forward. This is exactly what happens when your environment shifts. When you move to a new city, start a new job, or even rearrange your home, your brain can't rely on the old script anymore. The unconscious patterns that used to run in the background, your daily habits, your emotional reactions, even your sense of identity, get interrupted. You are no longer in autopilot mode. That's why big life transitions often trigger deep personal growth. Ending a relationship, switching careers, or even meeting new people can challenge your ingrained beliefs. The old patterns start to feel out of place because the environment that supported them is gone. Take Michelle, for example. She spent years doubting herself, feeling like she wasn't enough no matter what she accomplished. But when she moved back to her home country, something unexpected happened. The self doubt that used to feel so real started to feel foreign, out of place. The surroundings that once reinforced those beliefs were no longer there. Her unconscious mind, which had been running the same old program for years, suddenly had to reassess. It was as if someone had erased the well worn trail she had been walking, and with that, she had the opportunity to create a new path. This is why environment plays such a key role in change. When the familiar structures are removed, whether physically or mentally, the unconscious mind can no longer cling to the old ways. It has to adapt. And in that adaptation, a new reality becomes possible. Step number 2, awareness comes to the present moment. Let us go back to that metaphor. You're walking down the familiar road. You barely think about it, you just go through the motions, lost in thought, until suddenly, one day, there is a detour. A roadblock forces you to stop. For the first time in the long time, you actually notice where you are. This is what happens when awareness kicks in. Most of the time, our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors run automatically in the background. We don't consciously choose them, they just happen, like a reflex. That's because the unconscious mind is incredibly efficient at keeping us running on familiar patterns over and over and over. But when awareness enters the picture, everything changes. Suddenly, you see what was once invisible. You catch yourself reacting before you fully step into the reaction. You notice the thought before it turns into the emotion. You recognize the feeling before it becomes a habit. Hypnosis works by creating this moment of interruption, a pause in the pattern where your conscious mind finally steps in and sees what's been happening all along. It's like flipping on a light in a dark room. You might not have noticed the mess before, but now it's impossible to ignore. And here is the key. Once you become aware of the pattern, you can't unsee it. You've probably experienced this before. Maybe you used to engage in self sabotaging behaviors without realizing it, constantly procrastinating, always doubting yourself, repeating the same relationship mistakes. But then one day, something clicks. You see the pattern for what it is. And even if you struggle with it, you know it's there. This moment of awareness is powerful because it puts you back in control. Now, instead of being a passenger in your own mind, you now have a choice. And that brings us to the next step. Step number 3, you are ready to take action. Back to our metaphor. With awareness, you are now standing at a crossroads. One path is the familiar one, the same road you have always taken. It's easy, predictable, and comfortable. But you know where it leads. You've walked it 1,000 times and you probably don't like where it takes you. The other path is unfamiliar. You don't know exactly what's ahead, but something in you knows it's time for a change. This is the decision point. When you become aware of an old pattern, you are no longer unconsciously acting it out. You are consciously witnessing it. And when that happens, you now have the power to choose differently. But here's the thing, just because you see the pattern doesn't mean it will automatically disappear. The old way is still there, tempting you to follow it. But now you have an option. You can pause, you can step back, and you can ask yourself, do I really want to go down this road again? This is where the true transformation happens. Not in sudden dramatic shifts, but in these small everyday moments where you choose differently, again and again and again. Michelle experienced this firsthand when she moved back home and started noticing her old self doubt creeping in. She had a choice. She could fall back into the familiar thought patterns, or she could pause and question them. Do I still believe this about myself? Does this thought even belong to me anymore? And because now she had that moment of awareness before the feeling fully took over, she was able to make a different choice. She started acting from confidence instead of fear. She didn't force the change, it happened naturally because the old belief no longer made sense in her new reality. And this is exactly what can happen for you. The more often you catch yourself before stepping into an old pattern, the weaker it becomes. You're rewiring your brain in real time, creating new neural pathways, forming new responses, and over time, the new way becomes your default way. So, when awareness enters the picture, then you find yourself at the decision point. Remember, you are not stuck. You're not broken. You're simply standing at the crossroads and you can choose differently. By the way, if you're finding this video helpful, please take a second to subscribe to this channel and share it with someone who might need to hear this. So, why does this work? It works because the unconscious mind doesn't fight change. It just needs to be shown a new way. It's like an old GPS system that's been leading you down the same road forever. Hypnosis doesn't force the GPS to stop working, it just updates the map. It gives you new directions, a new route, and once you have a better way moving forward, the old way stops making sense. This is why Michelle was able to step out of self doubt so quickly. It wasn't just the physical move, her environment changed, yes, her awareness clicked in, and now she was ready to take action. She wasn't just reacting to life anymore, she was choosing her own direction. And the same is possible for you. If you have been stuck in old patterns, whether it's anxiety, self doubt, procrastination, or something else, you don't have to stay there. Hypnosis and coaching can help you break free and reprogram your mind for the life you actually want to live. And if you are ready to make the shift, book a free clarity call with me. You can find the link in the description of this video. So, what do you think? Have you ever noticed a moment where your awareness changed everything for you? Please let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.